Hello, welcome to the Snap UK. We're our second part of our Week 17 playoff special with the NFC edition now. So, like before, there are Black Monday implications here, but we'll go through them as they go along. So, start with the leaders, the Packers. 13-3, they beat the Bears 35-16. Bears finish 8-8. So
the Bears back into the playoffs is basically where this is going.
Yep.
They've limped across the line. They wouldn't have been anywhere near competitive in the AFC, but this is the joy of the seventh seed that's now available to us. Basically, is we get to see the Bears again. Fair enough. I'm not sure how long they're going to hang around, but this is all about Aaron Rodgers. He's wrapped up, surely, the regular season MVP. 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He'd never thrown more than 45 touchdowns, was his previous best back in 2011, which is when they won it, I believe. So 48 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and surely right now, this is the NFC Super Bowl contender. They are incredible.
If you think, when he did it last time, he had, very good wide receivers, and now he's got nothing. He's literally always got nothing to.
He's got the best wide receiver possibly in the league.
115 receptions this year for Devontae Adams, which is the most.
Apart from Devontae Adams, there is very little to throw at.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling gets a lot
Lazard.
Yeah,
Tonyan.
MVS gets stick because he drops twice as many as he catches, but when he catches them, they tend to be touchdowns. I like Lazard. Robert Tonyan, brilliant.
He's had a great season. He's had the most touchdowns for a tight end this year.
Contract year, isn't it?
I don't know.
Either way, he's still playing well. He's still there, catching passes from Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers is still elevating players.
Yeah.
That's something we don't mention enough. Is he's getting the best out of very little, a bit like Deshaun Watson does. He's elevating players. And this is something we haven't seen Rodgers do up until the start of last year, when Matt LaFleur took over. He's been a different player. The last 3 years under McCarthy, he wasn't interested and he wasn't elevating people. Now, he's delighted to be playing football and he's now competing for another title. It's as simple as that for me. I think Green Bay are excellent.
I find it difficult to look past Green Bay in the NFC as a representative in the Super Bowl. I think out of all the teams in the playoffs, I can't see Green Bay losing to any of them at the moment. Not the way Aaron Rodgers is playing.
The Bears have never won a Week 17 game against the Packers. 0-6 all time.
Strong.
That's pretty terrible.
Was it the 200th game as well? Or the 100th?
So.
Or the 100th game? It was a big milestone.
I believe it was in the 200s.
Wow.
It's the oldest going rivalry.
Yeah, I'm sure it was the 200th game. Yeah.
Odd thing, we'll look at the Bears. Mitch Trubisky, the third quarterback in Bears history with 1,000 or more completions as a quarterback. Harbaugh and Cutler are the other two. He didn't play all the games. He's actually been pretty good in his comeback the second half of the season. I just think it deserves some recognition. It's the way they're calling the plays for him, but he's been on point.
I think he's played well enough to get another contract there. Right? It kind of pains me to say I don't see it in him. I still don't believe him as a long-term quarterback, but you have to give him credit. His form's been there. They've won a number of games in the back end of the year. He's played well. I think the play calling's massively helped him. I think the emergence of the running game under the new play caller.
Montgomery's been excellent.
Yeah, that's the massive fillip they needed. They needed a running game. They needed the quarterback to play well, not turn over the ball constantly, because the defense was on the pitch the whole time. Now the defense is getting rest. They're playing much better. I mean, they've been done over this week, but they've been done over by the player playing the best in the league at the moment.
Where do you think his backup ends up? Because Nick Foles, say Fitzmagic does retire, Nick Foles to Miami.
Yeah, potentially, but
yes,
I don't know.
it's probable that he'll end up somewhere like that. But I don't think Nick Foles will ever be a starter again.
No, he could be a
That is-
backup. It could be a backup in Philadelphia.
Yeah. That's the sort of thing you should be looking for. But then you've got to be fit enough to play every week, and he also isn't great with the injury record. How many winning teams have the Bears beaten this season?
1.
3.
One. Can you name that team?
Tampa.
Yes. That is the only team with a winning record the Bears have beaten, which kind of sums up their year. They're very middle of the road, and if you're not good, they will do just enough.
Mm.
I'm concerned that what you've said about Mitch Trubisky getting another contract is going to bury the Bears in the same hole they kept getting into with Jay Cutler. Because
I don't think it matters. You scheme it right. Next year they won't have Adam Robinson, so I don't think it matters who you got at quarterback. I think what you have to have the scheme, you have to have the system in place, and actually having Mitch Trubisky as a guy who can move, make runs. I think it's fine. I think if you went and stuck any other quarterback in there, I think they'd struggle as well because,
Yeah, I agree with you.
How has Allen Robinson since 2019 only Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams have got more yards than Allen Robinson?
Yeah,
and how? Because
he's everything.
He's just constantly overthrown. He's got the look of a man who just the start of the season as well. You'd watch him, he'd make a run, he'd get some clearance, and then a ball would be thrown 20 yards over his head, and just be like, "Oh, I feel for you, man." So he's great. He'll hopefully hitting free agency. He'll get the move he deserves. He's still only 28, but I don't think it matters. I think you stick with Trubisky for another year. It's a 5th year thing anyway. They're all, the guarantees all basically with the team anyway.
They're going to have to pay him if they want him to stay there and pay him on a reasonable contract because they didn't pick up the 5th year option.
I could see him getting a 2 or 3 year contract. He's not going to get one of these massive 4, 5, 6+ years contracts. No. He's not going to get obviously 35 million. If he gets close to 30 million, he's done incredibly well. And it'll be laden with incentives as well around playing time.
We're saying they're keeping Nagy and Trubisky.
I think so, yeah. I think Ryan Pace, the GM, possibly goes.
And I'm inclined to agree with what you're saying. And I like Trubisky more than I thought I would. I actually think that, like you say, the scheme is all important, and that's fine. But this just means it's again recency bias. They backed into the playoffs. You're not winning a Super Bowl with Mitch Trubisky.
Well, most quarterbacks than Mitch Trubisky have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's few and far between, though, isn't it?
But yeah, it's a team that is based on defense and running the ball, and actually what they've done over the last few years is move away from that.
Yeah,
and they've sucked.
Yeah. That's true.
So move back to it.
The only other thing I'd say about the losing, winning against losing teams is they did bench Mitch Trubisky for like 6 or 7 games.
He was terrible when he got benched.
I know he was, but Foles was no better.
Winning.
They were winning. That is
Foles
true.
Was worse. Yeah.
They were winning. So I think it's a tough one. I think
Foles didn't win a game, did he?
Yeah,
one maybe, but he didn't. Maybe one.
Okay, he was pretty bad. He might have gone 1 and 5. Sorry, but yeah, okay. I mean, if they're all in on Trubisky, and like we say, they're going to lose their best receiver. They seem to have stumbled into the way of using David Montgomery. If they're prepared to build around him, do that. Don't blindly wander into next season without a plan. No. That won't work.
No.
Right? They should
then you become the Bengals or the Browns or the Jets.
They should absolutely bust their ass to keep Allen Robinson.
They just continue being the Bears. That's what they do. They probably finished just outside the playoffs. We spent the whole season going, God, the quarterback's a bit shit.
Can we point out that Matt LaFleur over his first 2 seasons is 26-6?
Yeah,
it's like the best record ever for a coach in his first 2 seasons.
I kind of feel sorry for him in a way because he's not going to win Coach of the Year because he's got an amazing team. But he should definitely be in recognition for it.
Yeah. Well, he might win a Super Bowl, so don't feel too sorry.
If he wins the Super Bowl, he might win Coach of the Year.
It's decided before, though.
Wow.
He should be in with the
Who's he
shout.
giving it to? Andy Reid again?
No.
Ron Rivera at the moment.
Ron Rivera.
I love him.
Shut up.
Brian Flores at the Dolphins.
They've got a losing record. They didn't make the playoffs. They're just bullshit picks.
Who? Ron Rivera?
Well, they made the playoffs with a losing record.
Made the
Not
playoffs.
Coach of the Year, can he?
I think he's taking
won't
it.
get to be-
Well, we're going to talk about it in a minute.
Sean Payton coming through again.
If he's Coach of the Year, that's just sentiment. That's not based on any kind of stats.
No.
That's just bullshit. I'm not having that.
Anyway.
Yeah. I forgot what we were going on to.
Cardinals.
Brilliant.
Let's go to Cardinals 7, Rams 18. The battle between the backup quarterbacks.
It was winning in, basically, this game.
Yeah.
John Wolford, first career start for the Rams, actually played all right, even though his first ever pass was a pick. He then went and basically boggled the Cardinals by looking like he could run, even though he couldn't really. He just kind of did, and they didn't think he was going to. It was very strange. It was poor defensively from the Cardinals. Kyler was definitely hobbled throughout and probably wasn't fit to start. Chris Streveler, who came in from the CFL, having just won the Grey Cup last year in the CFL, looked like you or me playing at quarterback. And basically, in the battle of the backups here, John Wolford was easily the best.
With his beard, a bit more like you.
Yeah, to the point where I gather that there's now talk that Wolford should get the start over Goff next week in the playoffs.
Bullshit.
Well, I'm just telling you what they're saying in Los Angeles. I read it earlier, but
if Goff is fit, Goff starts.
Yeah, as bad as Goff can be, and he can be bad, he's not going to start John Wolford over Goff.
I wouldn't have thought
John
so.
Wolford,
Just tell me what's in the press.
John Wolford looks all right this week because a lot of Jake Luton looked all right on their first game. When you don't have tape on a bloke, it's fine. Second game, they get crushed.
I think so.
Starts.
This will be a sad ending for Larry Fitzgerald if he doesn't come back next season, which it looks like he won't. It would have been nice to see him in the playoffs again. Arizona finished 8-8. I think they're on track. I think their rebuild under Kingsbury is going fine. And a bit like the Dolphins, it's a year too soon for the playoffs for them. And but I think 8-8 is perfectly respectable, especially in that division.
It's a year too soon, but how many more years do you have to wait for a chance to get out of that division into the playoffs?
True, absolutely.
Because the Niners won't be as bad as they were this year, next year.
God, I hope
The Seahawks defense may well not be as bad as it was this year, next year, and the Rams have still got a decent roster. So it's all right saying it's a year too early, but they might have to wait another 3 years.
That's very true. What do you think Arizona lacks the most?
A defense.
Okay. Anything specific on the defense or just a defense?
They haven't got a pass rush. I think their backfield is a little bit too old now. I think Pat Peterson's still a good player, but he's not your lockdown cornerback that he probably was 5, 6, 7 years ago. The offensive line needs work, but you can get away with it because Kyler Murray is just so mobile. But we've seen what happens if he gets injured and you put a normal quarterback behind that offensive line, he's going to struggle. The running game is fine under Kenyon Drake. It can be improved, but the defense is a massive need. Like without Chandler Jones, they've just got no one pass rushing.
Yeah,
Tight end needs a bit of work as well.
Yeah,
they don't get a lot of that, do they?
No.
With regards to the Rams, is it just a case of it depends which Rams team shows up in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Is that all you can say about them? Because that's where I think this is going.
I honestly don't know how to call when we come onto the wild card picks. I don't know how to call that game.
Oh, I do. They suck.
10-6.
They have finished 10-6.
Yeah. And they've limped into the playoffs in the last few weeks.
Yep.
10-6 actually after what they were, isn't that isn't as good as I thought they could be. So
It's still a tough division. I know the Niners didn't have the greatest year, but that's a tough division. I know you don't know what they are over there in the NFC East, but like they do exist.
It is a surprising thing that this caught me out. The Cardinals haven't made the playoffs since 2015, right? Which is not that long ago. It's the second longest drought in the NFL.
Yeah, after the Jets, isn't it?
Yeah. That shows you how competitive the NFL is most of the time. That 5 years can be the second longest drought.
We said it last week, didn't we? Like a couple of years back, the NFC was just so much better than the AFC. This year, the AFC was so much better than the NFC.
Yeah,
that's what the NFL's designed to do. And the only one that's ever bucked that trend has been the Patriots.
I think just for clarity, the NFC has been better than the AFC for about 26 out of the last 30 years.
Something like that. It's been skewed that direction. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, the Rams' last 3 games, they lost to the Jets. They scored 9 points against the Seahawks team. They then scored, 18 against the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's not great.
Woo! Going in great form, guys.
Yeah.
It's all about momentum, isn't it?
Got to win on defense if you're the Rams.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that Cam Akers was playing injured. When he's fit, he is a really big difference maker for Jared Goff. But he's only been fit for about 6 games this season.
It's not enough,
and you can tell, and it's not enough. But it's promising for next year. But like Gary says, you can't keep being promising for next year, and that is a fair point. The Rams have flattered to deceive with the talent they should have.
I think they obviously hit a peak when they got to Super Bowl, but they've just never recovered from that. Like the year after, they didn't make the playoffs last year. Did they make the playoffs last year? No, I don't think they did.
Nope, they did.
And this year, they've to your point, John, they have flattered to deceive, and they're limping into the playoffs. And I think the Seahawks will beat them, but I think it'll be tighter than most people think. Do
you think they've ever been the same team since Sean McVay lost his line judge dancer?
No. No.
By line judge dancer, do you mean Todd Gurley's knees? That's when the last time they were good. When Todd Gurley had knees. Otherwise, they are an average team with a very highly paid average quarterback.
I'll tell you one thing I do think that's got worse at the Rams over the last few years since they lost old Bones is the special teams is nowhere near as good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. And Andrew Whitworth is 68 years old?
Yeah, I think he might be off.
Yeah,
so
that'll be a big loss for them because he's still their best lineman.
Yeah,
it might be time for.
Is he not injured?
Yeah, he's injured at the moment.
He's injured at the moment, but yeah, he's he's not. If he comes back next year, he's 41, 42?
41, yeah, 41 or 42.
It might be time for McVay to rebuild this offense.
He's only staying around because he didn't actually get paid for a large part of his career. If you look at Andrew Whitworth's career, for the first 12 years of his career, he hardly got paid.
Basically, when he was with the
Bengals. I was going to say, because he was at the Bengals and they got a terrible run organisation.
Should we move on to Washington football team? Make the playoffs at 7-9. They beat the Eagles 20-14. The Eagles finished 4-11-1.
I'll tell you what a game.
I'm just going to take this one, John, for a minute here. I'm just going to take this one because there's a couple of things here. Firstly, the sympathy factor for Ron Rivera and Alex Smith. Let's just get it out of the way. Everyone, with the exception of maybe Gary, but everyone, generally speaking, feels good in a terrible year that cancer survivor Ron Rivera and gruesome leg injury survivor Alex Smith have made the playoffs. So that's fair, yeah?
I feel good about it.
Aaron Donald tackle Alex Smith in week 4 and try and break him in half. And since then, Alex Smith has done Alex Smith things. He passes for 4 yards a pass. He looks after the ball, and he's been the best quarterback on the team. That's all fair, yeah? And Ron Rivera's done good things with this defense.
He still looks not that great, Alex Smith. I know he's back and he's playing, but he doesn't look that great.
No, he's just the best player. He's just the best quarterback on the team, is my point. So he gives the team a chance because Ron Rivera's done good things with a young defense. Montez Sweat and Chase Young both had really big sacks this week. Both played really well. So this is good work, and it gets a feel-good factor for Alex Smith and Ron Rivera. The second part of this game, and equally as important, is Doug Peterson just made himself the all-time anti-hero by fitting this game in the fourth quarter, when really the Eagles were probably just about to get in stride and turn this round. Jalen Hurts had been getting sacks, but he was moving the team. And then Doug Peterson decides the fourth quarter is the time to bring in fourth-year veteran Nate Sudfeld for his first snaps of the year, just to see if he's any good. And it felt like a tank job to me.
It was a tank job. I think the problem was he should have just come out and said at the start of earlier in the week, we're not going to play our first string. The season's a write-off for us. We don't want to get any injuries. They should have just come out with all that malarkey earlier in the week.
You'd take that.
It's the fact that basically they allowed the Giants fans to stay up late, get slightly excited, and then just piss all over their chips. And it was hilarious.
He did say he might give Nate Sudfeld some time just to see what he's got earlier in the week. He did say that. But you do that when you're, 25 points down or when you're 25 points up. You don't do that when you're 3 points down with a drive to win the game.
And we are also getting, a bit funny about, a team that have won 6 games.
Yeah,
not being in the playoffs. We have to be realistic.
No, we're not. I don't sympathise with the Giants at all. And John hasn't said at any point the Giants should have been there. We've been robbed. This isn't on John. I've heard a lot of Giants fans saying, I can't believe they threw it away. No. You had 16 games to get into the playoffs. That's fine. That's not the point. Yeah, and I think John took it as well as anyone. John and Paul didn't say a word. They just let it happen. Okay. But if he'd have come out 3 days before the game and said, why would we play our starters when we could just end up losing Jalen Hurts for the whole of next year? You'd respect that. You might not like it, but you respect it.
And 3 places in the draft.
Yeah. And that's all fine. It's the, like you say, it's the leaving it and thinking, oh, we might win this. We'll just tank. And all the players on the sideline were like, I can't believe we're doing it.
Apparently 2 players had to be held back from going at him.
And this is the problem that I have with Doug Peterson, is he lucked himself into winning the Super Bowl, and he did, and that's not bitter, it's just true. And he's been pretty terrible ever since they won the Super Bowl.
I mean, you have to wonder, who won that Super Bowl? Was it Doug Peterson or was it Frank Reich?
Well,
Frank Reich is doing a lot better at the Colts than Doug Peterson's doing with the Eagles at the moment. And you just have to look at the form of Carson Wentz. He was an MVP candidate under Frank Reich, and he's been nothing short of pretty average under Doug Peterson ever since. It's like, I don't agree with what he did at all. I think he's totally thrown the game into disrepute. It's obvious what he's done. He's made it worse by coming out and continually saying, "Oh yeah, we're trying to win the game. We want to see what we've got with Sudfeld." Bullshit. Right, Jalen Hurts wasn't having a good game. Seven completions out of 20, 72 yards and an interception. But he'd run in for 2 touchdowns. He at least there was a threat around Jalen Hurts. Nate Sudfeld, it's just Nate Sudfeld's never the answer.
No, Nate Sudfeld is never the answer. I think we're all more or less in agreement with what's going on here. Now, the Eagles, by virtue of the fact they lost, have gone from 9th to 6th in the draft. So that's great for them. But my question is, should Doug Peterson be the one taking them forward? Is he the coach for the next 2 or 3 years?
As Gary always points out, tell me who's better.
Frank Reich.
Yeah,
but why would Frank Reich want to move effectively down?
The question: who's better and who's available?
That's it. It's awkward, and because of that Super Bowl win, he has cachet there.
Yeah,
but
he's just about to lose their franchise quarterback because the guy can't stand him.
Yeah. Oh, and that's it. I don't think he goes this summer, but I do think this is the beginning of the end, because unless there is a wholesale change in that squad, I think he's lost it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's there for next season, and that might be it. He's not handled any of the player problems very well at all for me.
And you look at
Super Bowl wins get you a long time though.
They do.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think they get you as long as what they probably used to. I think now we live in a world where it's not, you're under that pressure a lot quicker than you probably would have been 10, 20 years ago. I do look at the Eagles, though. They have had massive injury problems throughout the whole year. I think they've had the most.
Yeah.
But then you look at Ryan Garrett and the 49ers who had massive injury problems this year, and they're competitive in every game. And they've got the same record, but you actually look at it and go, well, similar record, sorry, we're 6 and 10, they're 4-11-1. But you look at the games we've lost, and it's like you're competitive in every game. The Eagles, just even the games they've won and drawn, don't look competitive.
No.
Don't look like they're going to win.
Let's not forget that opening game of the season, they didn't take a field goal and elected to tie a game when there was still minutes left in overtime.
Yeah.
I'm afraid Doug Peterson, for me, is sinking as a coach rapidly, and I don't like anything about him or the Eagles, and I've never recovered from the Eagles fans when we went to watch him at Wembley. So, fuck them.
I think that helps him. I think the fact that there aren't Eagles fans in the crowd booing him, I think helps him this season. And
I also think the fact that he's managed to piss off the Giants fans also actually helps him.
Yeah.
So I think this is one loss where actually the Eagles fans are probably happy to lose.
Eagle fans are, I'd imagine, they're dicks anyway, so I'm sure they're fine.
Before you move on, Alex Smith, first Washington quarterback to win 5 straight starts since who?
RG3.
In
2015.
2012. 5 straight games. They haven't managed to win 5 straight in 8 years until now.
The Redskins haven't been good since the 80s.
Exactly.
The who?
The football team.
I thought you didn't live in the past, Gary.
I'm drinking now.
I said for Rivera, he's got 7-9 in a year. He's had to play Dwayne Haskins 6 times.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins, Tyler Heineke, Alex Smith on one leg. Didn't they play another guy?
Kyle Allen played.
Kyle Allen played as well. I don't think he started any games, but I think he came in a couple of times, didn't he?
Don't
think he started.
He started.
He started after Dwayne Haskins.
He started the game.
Started the game where Alex Smith came in.
So 4 quarterbacks have started games.
Yeah.
Coming into games. He's done incredible things. The Panthers really shouldn't have let him go. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Which takes us to Cowboys 19, Giants 23.
Okay, so we've done we've covered the fact that the Giants did their bit here, right? Their defense stepped up. John even said to me, the defense has turned up again. This is good. Andy Dalton basically put the bed. And this, what should be good, but is in fact terrible Cowboys team, flattered to deliver against a Giants team which has been so up and down this year. They go as the defense goes at the Giants, and they did their job. They won the game. They had a chance. Beyond this, where do the Cowboys go? Because Mike McCarthy, his job is probably safe, but he looks shot. You see him on the sideline, he just looks like a man like, I can't get away fast enough. They don't know what they're doing with Dak.
They need Dak. They need Dak.
They pay him. Quite frankly, he has had the best 6 to 10 weeks of his career by not being there. He has shown that he is invaluable to that team.
And a fracture is one of the better injuries to come back from.
It was a clean break, wasn't it?
I don't think it's going to be a problem, him coming back.
They've got cap space as well. They've got so much cap space.
They could have done the deal all season long. They could have done it, and they've done nothing. And that just speaks volumes to how this organisation is run. Cowboys and Giants both finished 6-6 in a poor division. Which one of these two teams set for the better year next year?
I honestly don't know. It does all depend on if Dak comes back, and Dak is Dak, and he plays to his potential. Even when you got the hindrance of Mike McCarthy running the neck, I still think this Cowboys team does better.
Yeah,
but
they can't be as bad on defense again as well.
Yeah, exactly. On the flip side, I've been quietly impressed with the Giants over the last few weeks. They started 1-7, and then they've gone 5-3 or something like that. Yeah, they started off the year kind of not liking the way Joe Judge was running the team. That's turned around now, and the comments coming out of that locker room is, yeah, we had to work hard. He made us work hard. We want to work hard now because we know that's what it takes to win. And that's just been epitomised by some of the players that have suddenly appeared who had who we thought had the talent, but never really figured out how to actually play. Like Leonard Williams has had an astounding season. He had 3 sacks on Sunday night. James Bradbury, the cornerback, has been brilliant. Xavier McKinney is a real find at safety. And there are other players on offense as well who are also playing well. So I think it depends if Dak comes back and he's as good as he is. But I would be more encouraged as a Giants fan than I would as a Cowboys fan right now.
So the only issue I've got with Giants is the quarterback.
Yeah, so this is where I was going. So I don't know exactly where the Giants are picking. They're about
11th.
11th. Okay. So let's say Zach Wilson or Mac Jones are on the board.
Mac Jones might.
Yeah. Better than Daniel Jones?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what it's coming down to.
I don't think Daniel Jones will make it. He might have one more year, but
I do think they'll give him one more year.
I think he gets a year. There's too many free agents as well. There's so many free agents that
another quarterback. I think someone will be pushing Jones, and if he's not improved by the middle of next season, he'll be done. You might not draft one, but like you say, there are free agent quarterbacks coming up, and your team could be vastly improved. I liked some of what Daniel Jones has done, but it's very slow. It's very slow, and he takes one step forward, one step back. He never seems to go enough. That's the problem.
He looks like a player who lacks confidence.
Yeah.
Whilst I'd love to see a field stretching, like a CD Lamb.
Yeah.
It's
once you get Saquon back,
that will help.
So you're going to get Saquon back. If you had a better quarterback, your team would be very competitive.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones is the problem. Daniel Jones is the problem.
Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and Evan Ingram as a pass catching trio are really good. They just need a better quarterback. That is the issue. And I've defended Jones, but he's not. He's now in the same place he was at the start of the season, and that's not progress. You can see Tua improving faster than you can see Daniel Jones improving.
Yeah. For something else, Leonard Williams hits free agency, so actually I'd quite like to see us improve the line in the rush in the draft if that was available, because
I'd be paying him if you could keep him.
I'm sure that's part of their thing, but if he does decide to move on, I'd rather that than go through another bedding in of a quarterback thing again. I think I'd rather bring in a veteran.
Fair enough.
But yeah, anyway, let's move on to a team that did make the playoffs. Saints 12-4 versus the Panthers, who ended 5-11. The Saints 33-7. Despite all their running backs not being there, they didn't matter because it's Sean Payton. They just stick anyone in.
It's remarkable for its resilience. Why does it feel like then that there's a huge gap between Green Bay's 13-3 and the Saints 12-4?
I don't know.
Like such
just
a big...
does.
Do you know what? I saw some article about how the Saints should actually be one of the favourites for the Super Bowl, because when you look at the balance of their team, both sides of the ball, and it's they are only one game back from Green Bay.
Yeah,
and I think that Saints team has a real chance. A real chance.
Well.
They've got so many options. If Kamara is available,
he is available.
Apparently, he will be. Yeah.
Then I think they've got got a good tight end. They've got great wide receivers. They've got options at quarterbacks. It's just.
If I gave you Saints Packers as the final in the NFC, you'd be delighted, wouldn't you? That's a game.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what will tip it for the Packers though? The fact that it's going to be played in Lambeau Field in the winter.
Yeah, Drew Brees. Yeah. I don't think he's got the arm for that.
No.
But then Sean Payton brings in Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston to play those. He would be the one guy that you would say he'll play all three quarterbacks on the day if he's got to do it. Sean Payton is one of my picks for coach of the season because of how he gets this team through everything. like nothing derails them. They had one massive loss, didn't they, in the middle of the season? Like they were awful. Next week, we're back on winning again. No problem at all. Like he did it last year with Teddy. Like it doesn't matter. So I don't know. I agree. I think they're right up there with Green Bay. It just feels like a big gap, and like you say, maybe Lambeau is the defining thing.
Yeah,
I think possibly it's because Breeze has been in and out and getting back to speed, and Green Bay look a fluent, team that can just go past you, whereas Saints don't. They just don't seem as fluent as previous years, but they've been one of the most fluent attacking teams for years.
And Aaron Rodgers still makes great plays, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He makes 20, 30, 40-yard touchdown passes, whereas Drew Brees, he doesn't, does he? Kamara might run in. But
Aaron Rodgers is elevating players now. Drew Brees is relying on other players.
Yeah,
and that's the difference, I think, between the two teams.
Drew Brees is not as bad as this, but the analogy is Peyton Manning in his last year. Drew Brees isn't the Drew Brees we've known and loved for the last 5 years. He's hasn't got the strength in his arm to kind of really launch it down the field. He's still a great player and he still reads the play brilliantly. But
I think the Saints have a better roster, but they don't have
overall.
They don't have Aaron Rodgers.
No, I think that's fair. Looking at the Panthers, it's the first time ever the Panthers have gone with 5 or fewer wins over 2 consecutive seasons since they came into being in '95. Right, so it's their worst pair of seasons. I still thought I saw a lot of progress. What I want to know is their starting quarterback next season on the roster at the moment?
No.
You don't think it's Teddy?
No. I thought it was a couple of weeks back, but he's just the last few weeks, he's just looked distinctly ordinary.
Yeah.
Far too ordinary. And I think there's where they're picking in the draft. They're now picking 8th. I think they'll be definitely in with a shout for getting one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Because I do think there are around 5 quarterbacks could go in the first round. There could be 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10, depending on what trades happen. So I think that there's more to be done at the quarterback level. I think everything around him on offense is brilliant. I love what they're doing with the offense. When you get Christian McCaffrey back, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I just don't think Teddy's the right person for it.
Yeah, and Philip Walker clearly isn't. He had a good couple of games earlier in the season when he came in, but 5 of 14, 95 yards, 3 interceptions, not filling anyone with confidence. You got the feeling this was his opportunity to show that he's worth being there next year. Fluffed it.
I don't think you can read anything into this game for the Carolina Panthers because, you're right. They tried to put PJ Walker in there. They didn't have their running backs. They had the wide receivers, but they knew it's their end of the season. They want the off season to happen. They're carrying rebuilding. I think that there's a lot of things to like about what the Panthers has done this year. It's a growing team. It's a young team now. They're going to bring in. I expect them to bring in a young quarterback, and I expect like I said earlier, in 2 to 3 years, they could be a really good team.
Fair enough.
Where are we?
Let's move on to the Bucks, who go into the playoffs once again in a bit of style. Falcons 27, Bucks 44. So Falcons finish 4-12, Bucks 11-5.
Where do you want to start? You want to start with taking the Falcons apart or looking at how far the Bucks can go? What do you want to do first?
Fed up of taking the Falcons apart. We've done it
let's
for
go
weeks.
with the Bucks. So, providing Tom Brady is kept upright, now they're playing Washington, right? With their aggressive pass rush. Providing Brady is upright, the Bucks walk this game because Washington cannot keep up with the scoring. The problem they've got is Montez Sweat and Chase Young.
And Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Like you need all 5 members of the offensive line to be on song against that defensive unit.
Yeah.
And Washington are at home.
Yeah.
Because of the stupid way the seedings work.
Ridiculous.
I don't know if home advantage, unless you're at Lambeau, makes such a great big difference this season. There's no fans.
Oh, I think it does. It's still your arena. You still
got travel. The away team's still got to travel there. It's not the same, surroundings and environments that they're used to. You're right. Not having the fans does take something away from it, but I still think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, fair enough.
But anyway, I think
it
you're
was
right.
the most away wins ever this season. I think that was the point.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I think keep Tom Brady upright and the Bucs walk this because they haven't got a running game, so they're going to be passing the whole time. Washington have got a pass rush.
This was the most 492 points is the most ever by a Buccaneers team in a single season. Like Brady has made the difference because last year Winston was just throwing too many picks. I don't think they've lost a single game where Brady's only thrown one or fewer picks this season. Whereas last year Jameis was averaging nearly 2 a game when he threw 30 picks.
Yeah.
16 games. He's averaging nearly 2 a game, and they couldn't overcome that.
But they had a late bye as well, didn't they? Was it week 13? And
Yeah,
I'd say that
they were the latest one. Yeah,
and I think they've been a team that's improved through the season. If you think about Brady, he went the first 4 or 5 games of the season throwing a pick. He went quite a long streak, and all the talk of Brady not playing as well has really died down in the last 2 or 3 months.
He's been a top 5 or 6 quarterback the second half of the season. He really has. He's putting the numbers up. You can't fault it.
Third in terms of passing yards in the season.
Yeah, and it does help with that receiving group. Anyone know what the status of Mike Evans is?
It's not serious. There's no tears on the MRI from the MRI, but there's still it's day to day whether he'll play on the weekend.
In terms of this game, it wasn't as close as the final score, 27-44. But Atlanta were allowed to hang around for longer than they should.
They did come back at one point. There was only a couple of points in it, and then the Bucs just put their foot down. And it was like no contest. The fourth quarter, the Bucs scored 21 points, and that was that.
Yeah.
And before we move on, can we talk about a player that weirdly we haven't been talking about, even though we thought we would be? Antonio Brown.
Because we don't like him.
3 consecutive touchdowns for the first time since 2018. But he hasn't caused a fuss. He's turned up and been normal. It's been a great sign.
Did you know he's been living with Tom Brady?
I thought he lived next door, but okay, fine.
He housed him, didn't he, when he first arrived in Florida?
He's keeping him in the straight and narrow. If you can do that, he's a brilliant player.
Brady helped him get to 45 receptions, which earned him another $250,000.
But that's fine because that relationship clearly works. I'm just amazed we've barely mentioned him because he's not kicking up.
He did go the middle part of the season is very quiet. I think the Bucs lost a couple of games when he just after he had signed. But the last couple of games he's played well, but I just don't like the guy, so I don't talk about him.
Like him, but you've got to respect this trio: Evans, Brown, and Goodwin. That is the best purely pass catching trio in the league. And then you get Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller only gets one opportunity a week, and it's nearly always a 50-yard catch or a touchdown. It's very impressive what they've put around Brady.
You're throwing Gronkowski as well.
He looks good.
Yeah.
Really.
And they've got Cameron Brate as well.
Yeah. Cameron Brate's still there. There's absolutely no reason that Brady shouldn't be throwing 40 touchdowns a season to that cast of characters.
Yeah. For Godwin, it's a contract year, so it'd be interesting to see if they've got him next year. But for this year, they're great. They're a great, team filled with dickheads.
And they were the second longest playoff drought after the Browns, and they've made it in as well. So hence why we're now at the Jets and the Cards.
But yeah, we'll come on to the Falcons because we're going to the
that's good off-season conversation. That one.
Yeah, we'll come back to that another time. There's a lot of holes there. There's a lot of things need doing. Starting with Matt Ryan, what do you do?
Yeah. Seahawks 26, 49ers 23. So Seahawks finish at 12-4. 49ers finish 6-10. Very Seahawks result, really, isn't it? Just
it
get
was.
it done.
Gary, over to you.
For a team that's was at the start of the year playing so well on offense, I feel like they've limped again. They're limping into the playoffs. Yeah, 12-4 record looks good, but they're far from convincing. Like you look, and again, we kind of point to coaching. I feel that Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh especially have done an amazing job with his defense because the amount of people they've lost and they're still holding teams to quite close margins. Like if Robert Saleh doesn't get a head coaching gig this year, it's an absolute disgrace because the last 2 years he's been absolutely brilliant. And I'm gutted that we'll lose him, but lose him we shall. But the Seahawks, just whenever I watch them, just don't look convincing anymore. Like they just seem to just about do enough. And I said this about the Chiefs, where I feel like the Chiefs have got another gear to go. I don't know if the Seahawks have got another gear to go.
I think they've had a better year than people give them credit for. I think people said that they had no defence at the start of the season, so they spent a lot of time working on the defence. They're 12-4 in a difficult division. DK Metcalf had 1,300 yards. It's the most yards of any Seattle wide receiver in history.
Past Steve Largent, Hall of Famer.
So I think, when
he's gone off the ball the last few weeks as well, though.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Tyler Lockett got, 900 yards. Chris Carson was injured for a few games. I'm not a Seahawks fan. I hate the Seahawks doing well.
No,
they
you
did
are
well.
Such a Seahawks fan last year. Everything is all. What's in your fantasy team?
Look, I think in terms of fantasy, they did some really good stuff for me. And I think they're a balanced team. And I think Pete Carroll has got that defense better than it was at the start of the season. They're not. If you're not in shootouts, you're not going to keep scoring 40 points, are you?
Here's the thing with that. Russell Wilson, first ever quarterback to put up 25 touchdowns in the first half of the season and not get 20 in the second half of the season. They've just changed the way they're playing.
How many times have you seen Russell Wilson on the floor this year, though? Not that many.
Not as many as maybe in the past.
I don't know how many times has he been sacked this year, John?
Hey, John, why have you not got that in your head?
Statman, John.
I don't know the answer, but I agree. I think they've changed the way they're playing, and you can't not respect a 12-4 team, even if they're not always convincing. The Chiefs aren't always convincing. You're still saying they're one of the favourites for the Super Bowl. I think the Seahawks have done very well. I think the biggest problem the Niners are going to have is if you lose Robert Saleh, the best bit about your team is the defence. You can't afford to lose anything, especially on that side of the ball.
He's been sacked 47 times this year, just for the record.
So
it's fine. We're going back to the other 12-4 team, the Saints. They're very similar. They've just not looked a fluent attacking thing. But both teams look like defense gets you far in championship. They both look like they're. I think
when you look at the NFC, there's obviously out of the 7 teams. There's only 4 teams with any hope, isn't there, really? That's the Bucs, the Saints, the Seahawks, and the Packers. Yeah. That's it. The rest of them are irrelevant.
I agree with you. Again, I think we're pretty much on point here. Can you tell me the last team to finish with a losing record after making the Super Bowl previous season?
Rams?
Nope.
No.
Falcons?
No.
No, they made the playoffs.
Panthers?
Yeah. It was the Panthers, yeah. Falcons went 8-8. It was the Panthers in 2016. And Seahawks, every time they've won 11 or more games and therefore won the NFC West, they've made the Super Bowl.
Twice, then.
It's just but it's just the thing. Like, I think they are better than they appear on paper because Russell Wilson is an X factor for me. I'd rather have Russell Wilson than Drew Brees. You got your 2 12-4 teams. Brees is maybe the weakness on the offense at the Saints. The weakness on the offense at the Seahawks is that they don't really have a stable running back that you can rely on. But you've got Russell Wilson, so I think they're just as good as most of the teams in the NFC.
I disagree.
That's the whole point.
I think they're the 4th best team in the NFC.
Fair enough. Nothing wrong with being the 4th best team in the NFC. I'd love to be 4th best at anything. I'm not even the 4th best person in my own house, and there's only me.
You're the 4th best person on this podcast.
Yeah. Come on, give yourself credit.
Yeah, I'm only 5th, and Paul can't be bothered to be here.
Okay, and now let's move on to the remaining game, which was fun but meant nothing. Vikings 37, Lions 35. Vikings finished 7-9. Lions finished 5-11.
Not even going to put up the stats for that.
Yeah.
No, was just a good, fun game.
Too much about the game, but can we give Matt Stafford some credit for basically playing injured because he wanted to play? This is a guy who didn't have to play. He's got nothing left to prove. We've talked in between the segments of the podcast about what Matt Stafford should do. He should be paying the Lions to leave if he can't get out any other way, because his career is going to be remembered as one of failure for a player who had a lot of talent. What was he, first overall pick in 2008?
8 or 9.
Yeah. So, and what's he got to show for it? A seriously bad losing record.
Yeah.
You know, he's like 20 games under 500, if not more, because he plays for the Lions. He needs to move to have a legacy that's worthy of the talent he's got. And that is all I learned in this game, because the Vikings did very Vikings things. Yeah, they won. No, they looked unimpressive. Mike Zimmer will be starting next season on the hot seat. I think that's evident. I think he garners a lot more respect than someone like Doug Peterson, despite the fact he hasn't won it. But I think he has a lot more respect. But this team's not good. And
I learned that there's someone in the world called Quintus Cephas.
Yes, there was.
Wide receiver for the
name.
Detroit Lions. Quintus Cephas. Brilliant.
And God of the sea.
Jefferson. Can we talk about Justin Jefferson? Most receiving yards by a rookie in the Super Bowl era. 1,400 receiving yards. Beat Randy Moss. Like, he's quietly done that.
Well, he beat Anquan Bolden held the record, but yeah, he also had more receiving touchdowns than Randy Moss in his rookie year. A heck of a player. What a find for them. And do you know the team that picked before them? The Philadelphia Eagles picked Jalen Reagor, wide receiver.
Yeah, he might come good when they've got a quarterback who can throw to him. I'm not sure there's a lot else to say about this game. It'll be interesting to see, we were saying before this, what happens to Adrian Peterson. Is that it now, or does he get another year as a backup? Because I think he's been an effective backup, and it's a bit like we were saying about having Fitz around for Tua. DeAndre Swift has doubtless benefited from having Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
I think he gets a year somewhere.
He might be going down a level. I don't know with the sort of the Jets and the Jags, but I think for the Lions, it's more a case that it's, as we mentioned, it's contract year for Golladay and Jones.
And Marvin Jones, yeah, and they need at least one of them back, preferably Golladay. But Marvin Jones, he's got like 8 touchdowns in the last 9 games. He's a weapon. He's a very good player.
Good player. He's always been a good number 2 receiver.
Got robbed of an awesome catch this week as well.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Can we point out Matt Prater won everyone in the city of Detroit a free beer by hitting the longest field goal, 58-yard field goals, or the most amount of over 50-yard field goals, I think it was. And I can't think, he was up against, who is it, McManus at Denver? One of the beer companies put them a challenge, whoever gets the most field goals over 50 yards. And he hit a 58-yarder, I think, in this game. So it's the most made 50-yard field goals since 1991. He's been an upside for years for the Lions. They just don't have anything else really. Where they go with their coaching hire, I don't know. He's re-signing on the Patriots as the defensive coordinator, like Josh McDaniels came back.
It's just another organisation where you just don't trust the hierarchy to make the right decision, because they haven't made the right decision in God knows how long. Like there's too many decision makers there. They brought in a whole load of decision makers, including Chris Spellman from ESPN, to counsel them on who to hire. It's like that doesn't work. Like it doesn't work. The Browns proved it when they brought in 100 or so people to kind of try and run the front office. Just stick with. Find a good GM that the owner can mould with and work with, and then get that GM to run the organisation.
Agreed. Finally, before we sign off this pointless game, Kirk Cousins becomes the second Vikings player with multiple 4,000 passing yard seasons. Who's the other one?
Culpepper.
No.
Warren Moon.
Yes, well done. Whoever said that?
That's me. I'm taking credit for that.
He's always puts up good stats, but he's just not a winner. Philip Rivers-esque. Philip Rivers-like Kirk Cousins.
I just knew Brett Favre played for the Vikings, so I just guessed.
It's true. Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is great if he's going to do. He's not great, but he's a viable quarterback if you're going to do pass option, but they don't do that. So and I can't believe it's taken them. It's been 4 years now, and they still haven't realised. Oh yeah, no, it's
They gave him an extension.
Yeah, I know. So yeah,
No.
hopefully someone will work it out in the
You
summer.
want a few predictions then, don't you, John?
I do. So which one should we start with? Start with Saturday games.
Go on then.
So Rams, Seahawks.
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 I think the Rams' defense is better, but I don't think it matters which quarterback.
It's in Seattle as well.
There's just a massive issue with the Seahawks, and Jamal Adams might not be fit. He went off injured, and if you take him out of that Seahawks team,
it's like taking Aaron Donald out of the Rams.
Yeah, and Goff does have a slightly above average game, and Cam Akers is back. That's a really tough game to call. If Adams is there, it's the Seahawks. If he's not, it's the Rams. But there you go, sit on the fence.
No, you can't sit on the fence. You've got to pick one.
Well, I'll predict that he's going to play and the Seahawks win. Then. Okay. But I'm going to put a big caveat next to it.
Bucks football team.
I so want to take football team. Only 2 teams of sub 500 have gone into the playoffs, and both of them won their playoff game.
Seahawks
Panthers and
Seahawks, wasn't it?
Seahawks.
Yeah,
they both
it was the
went
beast
in
mode
sub
game.
500, and they both won. I want to take the football team. I so want to take the football team. I just can't see that they'll be able to keep up with the scoring rate. I'll take the Bucks. I'll be supporting Brady because I can at this point, but I would be elated if the football team won. But
patient friend.
Yeah, I will also take the Bucks, but I want the football team to win.
Well, I want the football team to win, and I think they'll win. I think they'll disrupt. I think they'll disrupt the 66-year-old quarterback. Sunday. Luckily for the Saints, they play on Sunday because if it's Saturday, Alvin Kamara wouldn't be able to play.
Don't think it'll make much difference. I think Latavius Murray would be able to do a job.
They play the Bears in New Orleans. Anyone got the Bears?
No.
I can't see a way whereby even if they wheeled out Jameis Winston, Latavius Murray, and the 4 of us, I think Sean Payton would be enough to scheme around anything the Bears can do.
I think Sean Payton's probably enough to scheme around the 4 of us.
The only thing here is the Saints do have a history of losing games in the playoffs they really shouldn't lose. And there will be an upset, and if there's going to be one, this is probably the game. But I will take the Saints because they're the better team.
If the Saints win, they play the winner of Rams Seahawks. So I think if they don't win this, if they win this one, I think they'll lose to the Seahawks. But I still think they'll win this one.
Okay.
That's why I'm going early.
Yeah. What's next?
That's it. Only 3 games.
We've done this.
Oh, is there only 3 games? Of course there is. Yeah. So, well, there you go. We've all done our picks then.
Yeah, we'll get into the new coaching jobs next week. But until then, enjoy the games. Enjoy Wildcard Weekend.
Super Wildcard Weekend. Apparently, it's called
Super
Wildcard Weekend.
Well, enjoy Super Wildcard
because there's an extra game on each. Yeah, but I'm just telling you what they called it. They've christened it Super Wildcard Weekend.
Some marketing genius came up with that.
I don't know. That's your job, isn't it?
Not for the NFL.
But yeah, we'll see you next week, and when we go over Super Wildcard Weekend, then, and enjoy. See you later.
Bye.